GM everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. It's a bit windier than usual this morning, and sorry about the shadow on my face from the hat, but if I'm able to see anything, that's gonna have to be the way it is. So I wanted to make hopefully a bit of a quicker video today, just about what I was up to the last week, and that was I only ate watermelon, 2 per day to be precise. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I did that and my results, or how I felt, to put it another way. So if you watched my last video, you would have seen that I've been doing an herbal detox. I'm almost finished. This is actually the last week that I'm entering now. But obviously, last week was the penultimate week, so I wanted to kind of finish these last 2 weeks, which is one batch's worth of herbs with a cleaner diet, so to speak. Like, my diet's been pretty good for the entire 16 weeks. But there have been a fair few vegetables and stuff included in that, which aren't as cleansing to the body, and you definitely do feel a difference. So I just wanted to take it back to basics and really clean out and optimize the last few weeks. So I went to the market last Saturday and I grabbed 14 watermelons, just because they're super hydrating, they're real easy to eat, and reasonably simple to prepare for eating later on, which is a necessity for me at the moment due to the nature of my work. So I started juicing the first couple of days, and then it turned into a juice slash eating hybrid diet, and then by the end of it I was just eating them. It was easier. It didn't seem to make a difference to how much I was urinating, which was, as you could imagine, a fair bit, which was probably the only downside to the week, but overall I felt amazing. Probably better than anyone else has ever felt that's not done this. So to keep with the theme of my page and my channel, I would always recommend you to try this, even if it's just for 1 week. It never ceases to amaze me how much better you can feel, even coming from a high raw vegan diet. The energy was a lot higher than I expected, which was probably a bit naive of me, but it just reinforces to me every time just how cleansing, how healing, how powerful this way of eating is. I hear it from a lot of other people who are walking the same path. It's one thing to hear it from someone else, but to experience it yourself is where the truth is. The proof is in the pudding, proverbially speaking. Flies are really getting after it this morning, so sorry about the hand movements, but I don't have a head net with me. So there's nothing much else to say, really. The sleep's a lot better, although, as I said, you do have to urinate a fair bit. You probably don't have to eat as much as I did, I was just basing my intake off past experiences on juice fasting and more mono fruit eating approaches, where I was having even more than I had this week. But 2 watermelons of the size that I had would be the equivalent of 6 liters, depending on the size. They obviously aren't all the same. I would say the ones earlier in the week were a little bit bigger. But yeah, the amount of urination all in all was pretty consistent. But don't let that scare you off. Even if you just had one watermelon for lunch or something, even though that's quite a fair amount. One thing with this lifestyle, I'll just stop here for a second actually. Maybe you might be able to hear me better. So one thing about this lifestyle is you do have to work up to eating the volume required to get the energy and cleansing effects. I'm not exactly sure of the factor, but other people have said it's probably about 4 or 5 times volume wise. And that's all to do with the water content per calorie in the fruit. To go back to the calorie model, it is of some use to us, but it doesn't work in every circumstance, so we can't use it as a whole truth. It is a nuanced thing, but we can use it for demonstration purposes and explanation purposes, as I've just done. So these flies, man, they're really going for it. Maybe stopping wasn't such a good idea. So as I was saying, with this content per calorie, watermelon's going to be pretty up there. It's above 99% water anyway. And you can see that quite easily once you clean out and start passing stools more cleanly and more regularly. Even when you're just eating watermelon, you can see that the majority of stuff that comes out is still red, fibrous material. So the body really only absorbs the water content and the minerals within that. So if you're not eating very high water content food, there's really not all that much to absorb, or it's just not going to absorb that efficiently. And the rest of what you ate is just waste matter, which is blocking up your GI tract and therefore restricting your flow of energy. Speaking of flow of energy, that was probably the most noticeable benefit and the one that keeps bringing me back to doing these short fasts, so to speak. I'm kind of moving away from that word, even though it still is relevant. But it's just really stripping things back to the simplest form of eating. You don't have to think about what you're having for meals. I know that can be a struggle for a lot of people. It's been culturally ingrained in us through advertising and just spending a lifetime in shopping centres and whatnot, that we've got to have something different for dinner every night for varieties purposes, to make sure we're getting all our nutrition. But when you spend a few days just eating simply on one food, the cravings for everything else actually disappear, which was the secondary benefit for me, and that was why I was drawn to it. I only really do these things if I feel a strong inner pull or a desire to do it, which I'd been feeling for a couple of weeks. So that's what I did. I was battling some cravings, and this strategy seemed to work, just going the mono route. I know for some people, going the other way also works. They increase the variety because they think they're missing something, but that also seems to satisfy it. But for me, it makes more sense just to simplify things. And once you clean out and you pass a stool that is usually full of all that old crap, it's actually quite funny. The cravings seemingly disappear with that bowel movement. So there's definitely a connection there. And it's really fun to do these experiments and see it for yourself. Be your own scientist. Don't believe what everyone else is saying. Don't believe what I say. Test it for yourself. That's all I can ask. And that's all I'm doing with my life at the moment. So test it for yourself. Stop believing in things. As I like to say, at the heart of every belief is a lie. Look at the word and the letters and you'll know what I mean. So discover the truth for yourself. Clean yourself out. Try this for a week. See what happens. If you have a crazy reaction and you don't know how to handle it, feel free to reach out. I'll offer you my advice and just go from there. All right, guys, I'll stop it there to save this from going too long, as I promised at the start, but once I get going, I do tend to ramble a bit, so I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.